the record one. Thank you. So by way of introduction, my name is Olivia Hayes and I work with a company called Ingenium, and we deliver performance and organizational solutions. So together with my colleagues, Eric Sanders, Dr. Hugh O'Donnell and Amanda Dominey, we'd like to bring you through Pathway, which was identified as a performance enhancement tool for students. So Eric, at this point, I might just let you introduce yourself.
Can you just check the speaker? Hi everyone. I'm Eric Sandilan, Director of Academia and Research for Ingenium. And slightly later in the call, I'll be sharing just some of the research highlights relevant to the development of Pathway. Thank you, Hugh.
Yeah, my name is Hugh O'Donnell. I led the Pathway Development Program from 2018 when we started in Ingenium, thinking about how do we filter down to students all of the great things that leaders enjoy in organizations. They get access to self-understanding, self-awareness of personality and traits, but also they get access to learning and development areas of focus. So Pathway is all about how do we filter down that to the younger generation to give them more opportunity to make informed decisions about their future at the critical junctures when they hit TY and go through the final years of secondary schooling.
Amanda?
Hi, I'm Amanda Dominey. I'm a web developer in Ingenium's digital solutions team, and I work on the Pathway project.
Thanks, Amanda. So what is Pathway and what's it all about? Pathway is a software platform that contains a career survey students take, which leads to a report that's generated that helps them determine the courses in third level that's best suited to them. The platform also contains a personal development program, which enhances the life skills of students. It contains specialist modules. For example, we've one around the young entrepreneur. Contains a podcast series and a work placement and internship support as well. So in terms of the people that Pathway supports, it supports students, parents, guidance counselors, universities, and it's a report. The Pathway survey is a report that combines students' personalities, their favorite subjects, their interests, their habits, their passions, their hobbies, and guides them in a direction for third level, as well as enhancing life skills such as decision-making and communication to help them as they journey through their senior cycle of school and into third level. We are very excited to have recently discovered that we've been nominated for a digital award, Permanent TSP Digital Awards, and we are very proud to be in such good company, and we're keeping our fingers crossed for a successful outcome. So our Pathway survey, students, when they log on to our Pathway platform, will take a survey. It takes approximately 15 minutes. They'll answer questions about themselves in terms of what's most like them, what's least like them, to help establish their decision-making style. They'll rank their favorite subjects from their favorite subject through to their least favorite subject. They'll incorporate in their interests, their passions, their hobbies, and the output is a report that lists 12 courses, third level courses, that's best suited to them based on the results or based on the answers that they've put into the survey. So if a student was to go online today and do this, it would cost €35. But we have a license package that we'll go through later, a costings package later on, where there's discounts available for career guidance counsellors. I'm just going to bring you through some extracts from the report and what it looks like. So this student here, for example, is analytical, or is conceptual analytical, and they can see where they sit on the grade of being directive, analytical, conceptual, and behavioral. And the report will bring the student through what it means to be directive, what it means to be analytical, what it means to be conceptual, and what it means to be behavioral. Their strengths are outlined, and also what's outlined is opportunities for their development. There will be a reminder as to what hobbies they selected, what their interests and their passions were, how they ranked their subjects, what was their favorite subject, right through to their 8th favorite subject. And the output then is a listing of the 12 courses in third level, direction that the student should take for when they're finished secondary school. So, Eric, I might hand over to you at this point.
Hey, thank you, Olivia. So imagine if there was an algorithm which integrated the main elements that impact career choices and produced a report as a basis for career guidance counsellor and student career conversations. That really was the vision that guided the research behind Pathway and the development which followed. So some research headlines, highlights in terms of our core expertise in Ingenium. It's kind of like a 100-year timeline really since 1922 and Carl Jung and personality types, through that human relations school, which 1950s to 70s. Some great taxonomy work by Rowan Bulgaridis, sense making through the 80s, and then human factors, neuroscience developments through that time. And in Ingenium, really over the last few years, 6 or 7 years, we've been researching in areas and creating tools in areas like human performance, decision-making, leading people through change, assessing culture, leadership 360s, etc., in our core areas of expertise. Unique to Pathway was our research mindset on the whole area of developing personality, knowledge, and intellect through adolescence. So in looking at what these inputs might be and how the algorithm might be developed, we extensively researched literature, but also held consultations and research with career counsellors, universities, extensive with students, and gained feedback from parents. And that was the basis of the work. So we came up with areas which I think would be natural areas for all of you, which was, decision-making. So the decision-making area, how people think, how they make choices, how they integrate with others, the biases they have in areas such as analytical thinking, behavioral thinking, conceptual and directive, decision-making styles. But also, as you'd expect, hobbies came through that process. Whether it's creative writing, or music, or drama, or coding, or whatever it is where people spend their time, fill their hearts when they don't need to. And interests came through. What are their interests, particularly in the world, which often these days is around climate change and ecology and sustainability and the circular economy and these sorts of areas and many other interests too. And what are people passionate about? Is it helping others? Is it accomplishments? Is it how the mind works, etc.? And then also feeding in their favorite subjects into the equation as well. So from that, from that, there's a self-awareness process from the students. So, their key strengths, their improvement areas, their internal compass. And there's a basis for good career conversations. So in looking at this, what are we saying really? Some of this is timeless, but some of this is very topical and current in relation to the career choices people are going to make in a world right now where ESG is so important too, in environmental, social, and governance, relating to the world as it is and the world ahead. So I'll hand over to Hugh and I'll mute. I saw the noise response. I'll mute too so that Hugh can take you through how this was developed.
Yeah, so some of the survey elements had been used previously in the business world, like the decision-making style is a academically validated survey tool on its own that's been used globally. At Ingenium, we've got over 100,000 people that have gone through it at all ages. So that was sort of core and foundational into the algorithm. But as Eric has outlined there, from the research we conducted in the development of Pathway, a number of other factors would need to be considered to develop an algorithm that could accurately predict the most suitable courses that would be ideal for an individual unique student. They include their sort of likes and dislikes about certain subjects, It includes their interests, as Eric pointed out, in terms of what is going on in the world today that they like to hear about, would like to progress, like to be part of, the hobbies that they enjoy, and what they might want to take with them into their career. And it's about streaming all of these different variables into one algorithm. So in the development of Pathway, in engaging with a number of different specialists, including career guidance counselors, the amalgamation and the confluence of all of these factors and variables were developed and assessed into a survey questionnaire, which we then put through a research process between 2018 and 2020 with over 400 students to refine an algorithm that would automatically predict those top 12 courses. And that's where we've landed on with Pathway, which we completed the algorithm and the testing in 2020, and we then have developed into an automated software program. And essentially it selects a stream of 84 different third level courses. Now, there are hundreds more than that, but we've consolidated them to 84. And at each part of the process, as the survey is completed by the student, points are then accrued across each of the courses to assess a hierarchy. And once the survey is completed, a hierarchy will have been established. For example, if an individual chooses in some of the interest questions, things like, I'm very interested in how the mind works. And if their personality is behavioral in strength, and their favorite subjects are history and English, for example, the chances are you're going to get the top 2 or 3 courses are going to be linked with psychology and English. And that's the sort of the background to how an example would work. And the report output generates a lot of information that's personal to the student, that's very interesting for the student, but also it's the key to enabling a conversation with a career guidance counselor to enhance that conversation about opportunities and how that might link with their future. So if we just move on and just to take you through, this was the feedback. So there is a detailed academic validity report that has been put through the test. The outcome from the survey process and the feedback received was very positive, validating the benefits of the tool and its application to students. And this is available for you to review, and it's publicly available on our website. Here are the 84 unique courses that are embedded within the algorithm from which the integrated points generator program automatically then calculates which points are accrued to which course for each of the different streams of survey elements that go into it. And from that, that hierarchy, and you'll see, we'll do a live example now shortly, you'll be able to have a really meaningful conversation with your students. That just talks through the timelines of the software completion. We completed the program software development testing, alpha tested, beta testing then with a particular school in May this year and launched in June. And to date, we've had over 3,000 people take the survey through our own online social media engagement to get awareness about the product. And now we're offering it to career guidance counselors to enhance their communication with their students. Now I have a couple of questions coming in the chat function. Let me just address those. That very good question on the aptitudes. And we made a critical decision early in the development of the software to not include aptitude, in that we wouldn't want to stream students away from their passions and desires, but rather that this is where I think the career guidance counselors' knowledge around aptitude will come in the hierarchy of courses that will be consolidated from Pathway will obviously need to be streamed for aptitude. But if you're engaging at as early as TY, when you're selecting subject choices for 5th and 6th year, then that aptitude has opportunity for development. And by streaming it too early might inhibit that. So that's where the career guidance counselor can come in and say, well, you know, if you're to achieve medicine, if medicine comes up or biochemistry comes up in those areas, because that's what you're most aligned to, then the points requirements for this course are X, and therefore this is what you'll have to go for. Otherwise, you know, we're going to be looking down to the next group of courses that come in your survey. So that sort of links that. So that's where I think the key relationship is going to be with career guidance counselors, to be able to discern that aptitude linked with the recommendations from Pathway. Another question there is, does the algorithm model control for geography, i.e. distance to the college courses, accommodation costs? No. Again, that's again part of the career guidance counselor's discussion to develop further conversations with optionality around courses. So we've made all of the course selections university agnostic, in the sense that they are streamed and amalgamated. So if UCD has a course called Mechanical Engineering and Manufacturing Engineering, and UL has a similar sounding course, we've merged them into one name so that we can consolidate the optionality, and then the student with the career guidance counselor can research course locations for that. So I hope that answers your two questions. Please feel free to continue to type in any questions, and we will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation as well. So I'll just hand over to Amanda, who's going to just do a quick run through the survey process live within the platform.
I'm going to stop share here, Amanda, so you can share your screen, okay?
Great. Can everyone see my screen?
Great. See that, yeah.
So to get to the Pathway survey from the Pathway website's homepage, you can just click on the yellow mini survey button, or you can navigate there through the navigation menus, and you'll be taken to the Pathway survey. The first page is just your personal details. You'd fill out your name, what year of school you were in, and your email address. The next page is your subject selection, where you'd rank your favorite subjects, with one being your most favorite. And if you look at the list, these are all the subjects that are available in the Irish school curriculum. And if you aren't taking 8 subjects, or you only have 3 favorites, you can select not applicable for the ones that you don't need. After that, we've got the decision-making section. And there are 20 questions where the students will answer whether the statement is most like them, moderately like them, slightly like them, or least like them. And hopefully they will spend a bit of time thinking carefully about these answers. There aren't any right or wrong answers. This is just to determine their style of decision-making. Following that, we've got their hobbies. In this section, they can choose as many or as few hobbies as appropriate to them. After that, they have global interests. Again, as many options as fits, or as few if there aren't very many. And the final one is the things they care about, i.e. their passions. And again, you can choose as few or as many as you like. And this is an example of this is my extended report. If you scroll down, you'll see I'm analytical conceptual, and there's a short summary of the top few courses. And if I scroll further, there's a nice little graph of where I fit on the scale of tolerance for the unknown and task-focused versus people-focused, and a description of my strengths and areas where I could pay attention and develop a bit more. A reminder of the favorite subjects that I selected. In this case, I only chose 5 and the rest were all not applicable. A reminder of what hobbies I selected. There was a lot of tech in there, and these were my suggested 3rd level courses: marketing, innovation and technology, digital arts and technology, graphic design. These are all things I do in my daily job anyway, so I found that really, really interesting. And after that, there's 2 pages of a brief description of each of those courses so that I could go and make further inquiries about whichever ones I might find interesting.
Thanks, Amanda. Next one, I'm just going to reshare my screen. And that brings us on to Eric. I'll hand over to you for this one.
Thank you, Olivia. Thank you, Amanda. So, yeah, just this morning in preparation, actually, I was reading back through an OECD report, taking a national policy perspective on careers guidance and the importance of effective careers guidance and the difference between nations, which was quite interesting preliminary really to look at this information from earlier in this year from the Higher Education Authority, their report here in Ireland, where I think we're blessed in this area relative to a number of other countries. And so I'm highlighting here that will be very familiar to you. I know maybe from the report, but certainly from practice around completion rates, difference in young men and young women, in that regard, particular issues in areas like STEM with dropout rates, etc. But really, as sort of seeing pathway as an element in your toolkit to try and get that kind of alignment, try and get a good fit for young people at this stage, to try and minimize the dropout rates. It's something they're really passionate about, they'll hopefully maximize the student experience, the learning experience, and also stick with it to overcome, challenges and complete, programs. And and also kind of getting away from the stereotypes a little as well through, through data, to maybe think about things they might not have thought about. A few years ago, women in relation to STEM and engineering was an issue. Masses of work to overcome that now, but hopefully this cuts through, some of those areas too, which can be a barrier to success. Olivia, I'll hand over to you, if I may, on some of that.
Thanks, Eric. So the Pathway Survey is one element of the Pathway platform. The platform also contains a personal development program, which is a number of modules. It's a life enhancement program, 14-module program on self-development, where students learn things like decision-making, communication, emotional intelligence, items outside of your typical school curriculum. The modules are delivered in bite-sized videos, and between each video, there is exercises that the student can do just to enhance and reinforce the learnings of the videos. And for each video that the student watches and for each exercise that they complete, there's a gamification aspect on the platform so that they gain points. And every month there is a leaderboard where prizes can be won. And at the end of the year, there's an annual leaderboard. So the more often that a student interacts with the platform through watching the videos, through doing the exercises, through uploading their own content, they will gain points and they're on the leaderboard. The platform also contains a podcast series, which is again aimed completely at the students. The guests on the podcast series are undergraduates, postgraduates, young professionals starting on their careers. They're giving their insights and their experiences to date, and they're giving advice to the students in terms of what they wish they knew when they were their 16-year-old self. And the platform also contains articles, helpful, useful articles, things around tips on study, tips on getting that study-life balance and avoiding distractions. So here's a snapshot of the modules that are contained within the personal development program. We've got decision making, we've communication and presentation skills, we've understanding biases, diversity and inclusion, problem solving, the impact of distractions, emotional intelligence, influencing in difficult conversations, learning styles, time management, financial skills, and self-motivation. And we also are currently working on climate action awareness and digital technology. So as I mentioned, all these modules are delivered in a video vignette series in bite-sized videos between maybe 3 and 5 minutes in duration. But Amanda, I'm going to hand over to you now, just if you could just navigate, show everybody how to navigate the PDP platform and just give a sample of a video playing and just what it looks like. Stop share here if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen.
There we go. So this is the PDP homepage. It's hosted on an online learning management platform. And once you've logged in, you'll see all of the different modules that are available on the right here. And we have a community activity stream, a PDP channel, a podcast channel, and a summary of your leaderboard position and your badges. And if you click through on one of the modules, you'll, for example, decision making. This is how the modules are presented. There's a list on the right of all of the video vignettes and the different exercises. And then below that, we have comments and questions. So students can comment and they can ask specific questions related to the course material. And you can see that we have moderators who will reply to particular comments and answer specific questions. And the students can also ask questions in the community channel as well. And you can see here this video.
Making judgments and decisions every hour of every day, and I firmly believe that understanding your personality reflects to your.
So this video is only 3 minutes long. All of the videos are very short in duration to make them very easy to consume. And the system will track how far along you've got on the video. So if you only get halfway and you come back later, it will pick up where you left off and it'll mark the videos as watched or not. So you can keep track of where you are in the particular module.
Perfect. Thanks, Amanda.
Sure.
Stop share there. I'll share my screen again. It'll just take a minute for the screen sharing facility to drop in. So when students have completed a module, they'll receive a certificate of completion. And these certificates are additional tools that students can use in terms of students looking for summer jobs. It's a feather in their cap to show that they've completed modules that they have outside of school. And I suppose it sets them apart from other students who are looking for maybe summer employment or post third level. So Hugh, I'm going to hand over to you for the specialised modules.
Yeah, I might just ask you to respond to that question there that came up in the chat function, Olivia. Yeah, another module that's currently in production is it's got 5 sub-modules of its own. It's again, what we've seen in industry is the success of entrepreneurship. And it's about establishing an early learning opportunity to appraise students who believe that they would like to go down an entrepreneurship route, to appraise them of what's involved, from one, understanding the principles of it, the risk-taking, the venturism of it, and also to look at some examples of different companies and individuals particularly that have developed and grown, as well as then understanding the process of innovation and some tools that are distilled from a business world to a student world that they could develop their idea and start to use the platform to enhance their early entrepreneur ideas, and then move into some of the sort of financial aspects of how entrepreneurship is developed in terms of some of the how do you actually raise money, and what does it mean for a round of financing, to get your business idea to develop. So, and all of this is delivered by young entrepreneurs communicating to potential entrepreneurs. So this is another module that's been developed separately to the main PDP program.
Thank you. And just in relation to the podcast that I mentioned earlier, some of the guests that we have, they speak about all different themes, from careers in media and journalism to music to, we've had a student on recently who's speaking about health and fitness, and another student who spoke about how their journey was slightly different in that they didn't quite get what they were looking for initially, and how their different take on perspective on things and advice they would have given their younger selves. So these are hosted every month, and a new podcast is put on the platform on a monthly basis. And what we've noticed to date is that students have really resonated with the podcasts that they've seen to date, and we've gotten great feedback from them. So in terms of the price for Pathway, well, first of all, before I talk about the price, we'd love to offer everybody on the call 20 free reports. And I'm just going to put into the chat function my email address so that you can contact me in order to redeem them. So it's olivia.hayes@ingeniumtc.com. And also the website of mypathwayjourney.com. If you email info@mypathwayjourney.com, that email address is constantly monitored there, so we will be able to receive your email there. So if a student logged on to the Pathway platform today and did the survey themselves, the cost is €35. For career guidance, we want to offer discounts based on volumed license approach. So for between 1 and 50 students, discount of 14.3% is applied, where the price of the survey would be €30. Between 51 and 150 students, the price of the survey would work out at €25 per report. And for numbers of 151 and above, this would work out at €20 per report. And in terms of volume commitment, it can be over a 2-year period. So in terms then of the PDP, the Personal Development Program, so again, if a student was to log on to the platform today themselves, it would cost €10 per month. But we'd like to offer a discount based on number of students. So for between 1 and 50 students, it would work out as €9 per month. Between 51 and 150 students would work out at $8.50 per month. And for over 151 students, it would work out at €8 per month. So I hope everybody does avail of your free reports. So please take note there of my email address and do get in touch after the session. So it's great to see that there has been questions so far into the chat function, but other questions that we have received to date, which I've put in here into a slide, are, well, when do I pay and how do I pay? So what we always would encourage is that you buy now, but you can pay at a later date. You can onboard now and pay up to maybe 6 months later. Can I license the survey only? And the answer to that is yes. You just saw there on the previous slide, there is prices for just the survey and prices for just PDP. And if I don't use all my licenses, a rebate will will be applied. And how do I contact someone for support during the year? You can reach out to me directly, or else on the Pathway platform, if students have queries, it's info@mypathwayjourney.com. That email address is constantly monitored. Can I carry forward licenses that I do not use? Yes, license dates can be extended. Do I pay extra for additional content that is subsequently added after I have attained a license? And the answer is no. Once you have access to the platform, you have access to everything. Can students share accounts? No, it's one account per student. And is aptitude and ability measured? It's not. It's a conversation that career guidance counsellors will have with their students, because the career guidance counsellor knows best the aptitude and the ability of the student they have in front of them. Is it approved by the Department of Education? So we've had numerous engagements with the Department of Education, and they do fully endorse the platform there, but they don't approve any commercial products, but their feedback has been very good. So Hugh, I might hand over to you for this slide in terms of life.
Yeah, please feel free to ask any further questions there on back of those rhetorical questions that Olivia has posed with answers. Overall, when we stand back and look at Pathway, we're trying to be a partner to support students and career guidance counsellors through the student's journey from a TY perspective, initially in helping using the survey to identify their pathway as individual unique students, and to help them then with the selection of their 5th and 6th year subjects ahead of the going into that. So that if, for example, their pathway survey comes out that they're going into business, that business is their top 2-3 areas, or it's in their top 5, 2 or 3 references to business, then subjects like business and economics should be advised to be chosen to support that pathway. And obviously for other pathways, other secondary school subjects would be chosen. But the survey can also be done by 5th and 6th year students. Of course, 5th is in preparation for 6th year, but the 6th year student, in terms of their CAO completion, it's the ideal tool to help have some understanding of what's really unique and aligned to them. It certainly creates an enabling conversation with the career guidance counsellor that will explore possible courses with aptitude and with locations, as some of the questions that were raised. But also Pathway is helping the student through their life journey into secondary education with the continued engagement with the PDP program and the interactive nature of it. Amanda shared with you just a structure of the modules and how easy they are to apply and engaging, but also the interactive nature of that PDP module allows for a lot of sharing of content that is accessed and presented onto the platform by the student. So they can share YouTube or TED Talk videos that they find interesting that are geared towards their age group. And with that, they also get more and more points. So there's another platform within the overall, the back end of the PDP platform that Amanda shared with you that has a lot more content and detail, which allows for the generation of points, which generates people up the leaderboard. We launched this 2 months ago. We've had about 12 winners so far of different prizes and awards that have for participation, which has created a lot of positive engagement. And that's for students from TY right up to 4th year in university, all co-sharing information and development knowledge about their individual journeys. But within Pathway, we're also cognizant that workplace programs are critical, and several universities are very good at this. Some universities need a bit of help. So we have set up a workplace program requirement so that students that are on Pathway can then get access to workplace program within their co-op and also within their internship when they finish college. So the idea with Pathway is with all of the different elements and components that we've shared and shown you is that they will support a complete value chain for the life journey for the student ahead from TY on.
Thanks, Hugh. And just in terms here of how can Pathway support students and career guidance counsellors through a licensing partnership? Well, it's a new conversation enablers for career guidance counsellors with students, and it's helping create visibility of potential career fits for the student at an earlier age while they're at school. It's helping to streamline subject selection for transition year students because they're becoming more invested in their career choice at an earlier stage. Assists career guidance counsellors in conversations around course selection and ensuring that the student stays in the course that they've selected and minimises third level dropout rates. And it creates a greater sustainability in education, facilitating rewarding careers for transition year students right through to when they finish third level education. And for all career guidance counsellors that sign up, there will be a training and onboarding session held in January of 2022. So we have really enjoyed working with career guidance counsellors in the development of Pathway, and we'd love to hear from you now. If you'd like to unmute your microphone or type into the chat function we'd really love to hear from you. And thank you very much for your time today.
So there is a question in there as well from Suzanne. It's pity that it's niche and geared towards mainstream, but no mention of alternative school leaving qualifications at level 4. Yeah, you're right. It is geared for levels above that. We are working on a version for apprenticeships currently, and hope to have that ready to launch middle of next year. It's a completely different stream of data that we have to look for. And obviously further education, it's about interpretation of further education in terms of other unique courses that might come up, which could be linked with the pathway. It's really a matter of career guidance counsellors having the oversight of shorter form courses, post school leaving or post primary degree, that could enhance, but the key is that they would be linked with the overall pathway, and or the selection of that pathway from the courses suggested on the pathway report.
Thanks, Hugh. Would anybody like to unmute their microphone or any other questions that they'd like to pose into the chat function?
I suppose I'd like to ask a question, Olivia. The follow through. Once students have done this and they've gone on to college, have we followed through the students to see what are the dropout rates or what's the reliability and validity of the pathway survey? I know I just keep asking about those two questions for any survey that I would buy. So when students have chosen that, have followed their pathway guideline, has there been a follow through with them to maybe follow up with them later on to say, well, how are they getting on? Or has there been any survey on the dropout rates following taking the guidance from us? You know what I mean? So
yeah, I suppose I can answer that one. We considering pathway was originally developed between 2018 and 2020 in our research phase, we have a pool of that group who have gone on, and they're currently in second and third year university, and they have all been featured on our podcast and have explained how pathway has helped them. So we have that small pool of we have that small pool of group that have given us that feedback. But in terms of extended validity outside of that, it's really the research we've done in terms of the impact it's had on opening up their minds to other courses that they may not have considered, or courses that, for example, they had considered and now it's a validation that that's what they want to do. Based on the research and feedback so far, there is a good cadre of people who have gone on to do what they said, what their pathway said, and have it's validated it that way. But that's probably only about 50 people in that group so far.
I have a further question, but I wouldn't like to hog it. Does it take into account minimum entry requirements? For example, if I want to go to do a particular course, I need a minimum entry requirement, maybe chemistry, or maybe a science subject, or maybe 2 science subjects. So does it take that into account before it makes the recommendation?
No, it's so given that it's geared initially for TY students in selecting 5th and 6th year subjects, it's there as an aid to help make that selection. In terms of the if you're in 6th year and you're doing the CAO, it predicts the top 12 courses in your pathway, and if you've got chemistry or other science subjects, and you like them, and your analytical and chemistry type interest themes exist in what you are passionate about going on in the world, then everything aligns and it will come up as your top courses. But in terms of the interpretation, that's where the career guidance counsellor will have to get into the details. So it doesn't have a secondary back algorithm that looks at the nuances of individual university entry requirements.
Thank you.
A question there in the chat function.
Yes, the research that has been completed is available on the website, and we can also email you the link for that in your response email to Olivia, we're offering 20 free surveys for all participants today. So once you email Olivia your information, your contact details, we will respond to that email with a copy of the link, which is available on the website, as well as the voucher codes for that. Well, there you go. Amanda's beat me to it. So that's the PDF document of the research.
Okay, so if there's no further questions or no further comments, I'd like to thank you all very much for your time, for dialing in today to listen to us and explain about the Pathway platform. I'd love to hear from you. Please don't hesitate to reach out, email me for the 20 free surveys. And at that, I'll give you back the rest of your day and stay safe in these stormy conditions. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.